Thanks for staying with NDTV. You're watching The World Report with me, Arjun, Samar, Mahendran, your daily window to top global developments. A top focus this Thursday, a group of 110 Indian students who were in fact stranded in Iran and evacuated yesterday have finally landed in Delhi just a few hours ago, viewers. Now, a majority of them, around 90, in fact, are from Jammu and Kashmir. Now, the students all from the Urmia Medical University and the first students, in fact, to be evacuated were transited via Armenia and Doha and boarded the flight to Delhi late last night. Meanwhile, Iran is currently engaged in hostilities with Israel, and the families of Indian students have been desperately seeking help from the government. There have been massive protests over this in Kashmir, which sends the maximum number of students to Iran. Meanwhile, listen into what some students had to say as they landed on home ground.
The students that are standing right now with me do have a sense of relief. Well, I will straight away go to them and ask about the journey that they have been through. What is your name?
My name is Ali.
Ali, I want to know the throughout whatever has gone through, throughout the journey, because it was a long, tiring journey that we have seen.
Yes, it's very difficult for us. First of all, there was a lot of attacks, mostly in Tehran.
Yes.
So we will like to thank our embassy. So they helped to cross our borders land borders through Armenia, and we stayed for 1 day in Armenia, and then we come to Delhi. And there was very very much attack. एक तो बस जा रही थी, हमारी बस जा रही थी साइड से, हमारी साइड में आके मिसाइल पड़ी. मेरे पास वीडियो पे झूठ नहीं, साइड में मिसाइल पड़ी. तो मतलब वो बहुत मतलब उसमें बहुत डर लगा,
घबराहट हो गई.
जी घबराहट उस समय हो गई थी.
इस समय कैसी स्थिति है ईरान में, अगर आप
हाँ, आंखों देखा पता नहीं, जितना न्यूज़ में दिखा रहे हैं मान लो वो सच है, वो उतना ही हो रहा है, उससे ज़्यादा हो रहा है. सच में बहुत है गलत.
अच्छा लग रहा है वापस आकर?
बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है वापस.
आपका क्या नाम है?
शेख अफजा.
कहाँ से?
कश्मीर से.
कश्मीर से
जी.
यहाँ पर कुछ ऐसे जानकारी मिल रही है कि जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं वो इतना थक गए हैं कि वो नहीं चाहते हैं कि अब उन्हें बसेस में लेके जाया जाए. ये कितना सही?
जी बहुत सही है, क्योंकि हम लोग ऑलरेडी वहाँ बस से ट्रैवल करके आए हैं आर्मीनिया तक, फिर वहाँ पर भी हमें बस बॉर्डर से कैपिटल सिटी तक आना पड़ा. तो ये हमारे लिए बहुत डिफिकल्ट है. अभी अगर ये हम लोगों को पहले बता देते तो मे बी हम लोगों ने कुछ ऑलरेडी पहले प्री प्लान किया होगा. अभी इस मोमेंट पे टिकट्स भी अवेलेबल नहीं है, वो सर बच्चे अंदर वेट कर रहे हैं, तो इट्स क्वाइट डिफिकल्ट फॉर अस टू रन.
पा रही है कि अभी तक क्या होगा, बसेस चेंज होंगी या क्या होगा?
अभी तो फिलहाल हम रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं हमारे सीएम साहब से कि वो हमारे लिए कुछ अच्छा अरेंजमेंट करे, क्योंकि बसेस की कंडीशन भी स्टेबल नहीं है. सो इट्स सॉर्ट ऑफ डिफिकल्ट फॉर अस.
आपका क्या नाम है?
हमारा सादिक.
हमारा. आप भी कश्मीर से?
जी.
तो आप बता सकती हैं कि जब ईरान से वापस अब आ गए हैं, कहीं ना कहीं जो पढ़ाई है वो वहाँ पर छूट रही है, चाहते हैं कि जल्दी से जंग रुके ताकि पढ़ाई पूरी हो?
ऑब्वियसली 100%.
तो चाहते हैं कि वापस जाएं?
हाँ जी.
Meanwhile, my colleague Vishal gets us the details on the routes Indian students, in fact, stuck in Iran could very well take to get back to India.
It's a region that's the hotbed of activity, hotbed of war activity actually. So what we have here is a map that that gives a picture of the routes that the students can take to get to India. In the same region, we have a lot of countries that are allies of India and also adversaries. So what we have here are the allies: Armenia, Turkmenistan, and Iraq. So these are some of the routes the students can take to get to India. Some students have already gone to Armenia, and from there they have just come back to India. Some students could also be on their way to Turkmenistan. It's not confirmed, but that's the way they can take, because that's an ally. Also on the other side is Iraq, neighboring country of Iran. So far there's no report as to any students going to the other side to Iraq, but that will have to be confirmed. And also one more route is this Persian Gulf route. This is one of the busiest routes in the whole world, and students could be transported through this route via Qatar, Bahrain, through this route, the Gulf and Gulf of Aden. Through that they can reach Mumbai, and from there they can go to their respective states. So these are the routes that they can take, and now we have some of the countries that will be off limits for India because they are not India's allies. Of course it's Turkey there, Azerbaijan, and Pakistan, as well as Afghanistan. With Afghanistan, India doesn't have former diplomatic ties, so that will be difficult. Pakistan, of course, is an adversary, so that won't be possible to evacuate Indian students via Pakistan. Turkey as well has had some bad, the relationship between India and Turkey has been severed because Turkey has openly supported Pakistan. Same goes with Azerbaijan, which is also a strong Pakistan ally, hence does not have a good relationship with India. So these are the countries India will have to avoid to evacuate the students.
Now, West Asia has completed 7 nights of sleeping with one eye open amid the continuous aerial barrage being treated between Israel and Iran. In fact, in the latest, an Iranian missile slammed into the main hospital in southern Israel early Thursday, wounding people and causing extensive damage. Now, this is according to the medical facility. Now, separate Iranian strikes also hit a high-rise apartment building in Tel Aviv, as you see on your screens right now, and other sites in central Israel as well. At least 40 people have been wounded. This is according to Israel's Magam David Adom Rescue Service. Over in Tel Aviv, Iranian strikes hit a high-rise apartment building and other sites. A hospital in Tel Aviv said it had received 16 wounded people, 3 with serious injuries. Listen in.
We have 1 serious patient with 2 more with minor injuries. We still have a lot of work behind me, as you can see, extracting patients from all the buildings, going door from door. Our teams are together with the fire department and front command, trying to get people out of their houses. You can see the house behind me is still on fire.
On the other hand, Israel meanwhile carried out strikes on Iran's Arak heavy water reactor, its latest attack, in fact, on Iran's sprawling nuclear program. Meanwhile, the aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford will sail from the US East Coast for Europe on a scheduled deployment. But its presence in the region also gives US President Donald Trump a third aircraft carrier option as he weighs what sort of military response the US, in fact, should provide as tensions between Israel and Iran continue on escalating. Meanwhile, on the economic front, viewers, oil prices have inched up on Wednesday as the air war between Israel and Iran entered the 7th day, raising fears of a broader conflict and, of course, major supply chain disruptions. The West Texas Intermediate for July delivery rose 30 cents or 0.4% to settle at $75.14 a barrel on the New York Mercantile Exchange. On the other hand, Brent crude for August delivery went up 25 cents or 0.33% to settle at $76.70 a barrel on the London ICE Futures Exchange. A 30,000-pound bunker buster bomb may be the very key to Israel's plan to eliminate Iran's Fordo nuclear site, but only the US has it. Now, as tensions rise in West Asia, will America greenlight a mission that's never, ever been attempted before? My colleague Parmeshwar Bava breaks down all the details.
It's 30,000 pounds of pure power. Nicknamed the Bunker Buster, the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator is the most powerful non-nuclear bomb on Earth. And right now, it may be Israel's only hope of hitting what it calls the heart of Iran's nuclear program. I'll tell you why it matters. Iran's Fordo nuclear facility, buried deep inside a mountain, is practically impenetrable. Israel's own bombs can't touch it, but the US mob, well, it was explicitly engineered to destroy deep underground weapon bunkers exactly like Fordo. So why hasn't it been used? Because the massive ordnance penetrator doesn't sit in Israeli hangars. It's American-only tech, deployed by the stealth B-2 Spirit bomber, a weapon platform that only the US controls. Israeli officials say the elimination of Fordo is non-negotiable, but dropping this bomb in a real war has never been done before. And according to US military experts, it would take not 1, but 2 of these dropped in the exact same spot to do the job. So is America willing? Well, Trump says Iran still wants talks, but also warns it's getting very late. And if talks collapse, he says a strike could be on the table. The US military, in fact, silent in public but ready to execute if ordered. So 1 American bomb, 1 Iranian nuclear site, and 1 Israeli red line that could drag the United States into full-blown war. The real story isn't just this bomb, it's who pulls the trigger and what happens next.
The UN Human Rights Office has urged immediate de-escalation and urgent diplomatic negotiations to end these attacks and find a way forward. Here's more.
The United Nations Human Rights Office urges de-escalation and urgent diplomatic negotiations to end these attacks and find a way forward. We are following closely and are aware of reports that many thousands of residents are fleeing parts of the capital, Tehran, as a result of warnings covering broad areas. There are serious concerns that some attacks are taking place in populated areas with reports of civilian casualties.
Now, shifting our focus over to Washington, where US President Donald Trump, in fact, hosted Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir for a lunch at the White House, declaring, and I quote here, "I love Pakistan," and insisting he averted a war with India, despite New Delhi bluntly repudiating his claims for mediation. Now, Trump's lunch meeting with Munir preceded a phone call that he had on Tuesday night with PM Modi, in which he in fact invited Prime Minister Modi to stop by in Washington, D.C. on his way back from the Canada G7 summit. He suggested efforts at mediating, which the US president has promised or claimed multiple times at various locations. Now, India has swatted away the mediation effort, saying Pakistan and India had a bilateral mechanism, which is what averted an all-out war. Meanwhile, senior journalist Lalit Jha, in fact, gets us the latest from DC.
President Trump's invitation to Pakistan Army Chief General Munir for a luncheon at the White House is quite unprecedented, quite unusual as well. You can term it a diplomatic coup, but it reflects multiple points. One, President Trump believes that it is in national interest to bring Pakistan on board for multiple ways, for multiple reasons. One, to create the trust deficit between Pakistan and China, which China, as you know, is Pakistan's, they claim this all-weather threat. The trust deficit, they want to create that wedge. Secondly, he wants to impress upon Pakistan, ask Pakistan to stop any support to terrorists or terrorist groups, which Pakistan has been doing against India. India, as you know, has always insisted and is put the condition for any talks on Pakistan, there has to be no support to terrorism. India, as I say, the talks and terrorism cannot go together. So from President Trump's perspective, he needs peace in South Asia if he has to achieve his larger goal of taking head-on China. So that's why he wants India's development. For India's development to happen, Pakistan needs to keep quiet, have a cooperative attitude, approach with India, and not indulge in any cross-border terrorism. That's only one of the important points. Second point would be about getting some help, assistance from Pakistan in its effort or armed actions, military actions, if any, against Iraq. These are a few important points, but it also is reflective of Pakistan's state of Pakistan's democracy, right? It is reflective of the poor state of Pakistan's democracy, where the elected leader has not been invited by the US president. Instead, he has opted to talk to army chief, which shows who the real ruler in Pakistan is, and what's the status of elected leaders of Pakistan.
Now on to the PM's touchdown in Croatia. Viewers, this historic visit, part of Modi's broader diplomatic tour, including Cyprus and Canada, underscores very well Croatia's growing importance in India's European strategy, and it also highlights the deep civilizational connections between the two nations. Now, Croatia's significance to India extends far beyond its modest size. It's about strategic geographic positioning, political influence, and also cultural resonance that in fact makes it a vital partner for India's evolving European engagement. Listen in to what PM Modi had to say, followed by his Croatian counterparts.
हम सहमत हैं कि आतंकवाद मानवता का दुश्मन है, लोकतंत्र में विश्वास रखने वाली शक्तियों का विरोधी है। हम दोनों इस बात का समर्थन करते हैं कि यूरोप हो या एशिया, समस्याओं का समाधान रणभूमि से नहीं निकलता, डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी से ही वही एकमात्र रास्ता है। किसी भी देश की क्षेत्रीय अखंडता और संप्रभुता का सम्मान आवश्यक है।
We believe that Prime Minister
During a session at the Indian Global Forum, viewers, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal shared his optimism around the good marriage agreed between India and the UK, which in fact he says will lead to doubling the bilateral trade in just 5 years. Now, he asserted the India-UK FTA, or the Free Trade Agreement, brings stability and predictability for businesses both in New Delhi and in London. Listen in.
In the next few months, we may not be able to enter into force the agreement until the UK processes are complete. But this is a time for us to build business-to-business connects. This is a time for us to have people understand the nuances and benefits that this deal can offer them, the opportunities that will open up. To the extent that whenever I'm traveling now, including the flight by which I came, the Air India plane by which I landed, I had at least a couple of people who came and met me and said they've come to check out the market and see what we could do more and what kind of business partnerships we could create with the companies in UK.
And over in Latin America, thousands of members of the Argentine opposition gathered Wednesday in support of former President Cristina Fernandez, who is in fact serving a 6-year corruption sentence under house arrest. Now, the protesters gathered sympathizers of Peronist Party, trade unionists and members of social organizations as well. Now, as the protests gained momentum, Fernandez announced on social media platform X that she had in fact asked the court that convicted her in 2022 to clarify whether the house arrest, which began just the day before, also includes a ban on her going out onto her apartment balcony to in fact greet and interact with thousands of her supporters who've taken over the streets in Argentina, as you see on your screens there. And the biggest reform to British abortion laws in nearly 60 years, or 6 decades, viewers, members of the parliament have voted to decriminalize some late-term abortions at a time when many of their US counterparts, in fact, are moving in the other direction altogether to, in fact, limit this procedure. Now, in a landslide vote late Tuesday, lawmakers in the lower house of British Parliament, the House of Commons, as it is called, endorsed new legislation that in fact bars women in England and Wales from ever being investigated, arrested, prosecuted or imprisoned altogether for terminating their own pregnancies, no matter what the term or trimester therein. The vote was 379 to just 137 against it. Southern Mexico's Pacific coast braced for a Thursday morning impact as Hurricane Eric spun towards the shore as a powerful Category 3 major hurricane. Now, it's threatening to unleash destructive winds, flash floods, and a dangerous storm surge on the region in the coming hours. This is according to reports from the forecasters that are currently coming in. Meanwhile, swiftly strengthening from a Category 1 hurricane just hours earlier, Eric had maximum sustained wind speeds of up to 200 kilometers an hour by nightfall as it churned offshore about 85 kilometers or 55 miles, as they say in the west, southwards of Puerto Angel, the Miami-based U.S. National Hurricane Center underlined. And well, it's time we step into a short break. I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching the Thursday edition of the World Report on NDTV, and now we shift our focus to top business developments around the world. The US Central Bank has held interest rates steady on Wednesday, and policymakers signaled borrowing costs are still likely to fall in 2025. However, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell cautioned against putting too much weight on that view and has said he expects meaningful inflation ahead as consumers pay more for goods due to the Trump administration's planned import tariffs. US President Donald Trump welcomed Italy's Juventus team to the White House ahead of their match with the United Arab Emirates team, Al Ain. Now, Trump wished the team well and also shook hands with two members of the team that are American. Now, these two teams are facing each other in the first stage of the FIFA Club World Cup. Listen in.
And thank you very much. We have a great team behind us. Juventus of Italy, and a friend of mine is the owner of the team. He's a fantastic business person, a young guy, and I think it's got the longest string of ownership of just about any sports franchise, but does have the record in soccer.
In the world of entertainment, the India Global Forum is set to announce the winner of the inaugural IGF Archer Amish Award for Storytellers next week, viewers. Now, this distinguished literary prize honors contemporary Indian fiction that reflects the diversity, the aspirations, and vibrant energy of modern India. My colleague Radhika gets you more.
The might of the pen, as they call it. With me are two absolutely incredible writers, both who are known with a capital A. Sorry, it's not your first name, but your second name, which is even more popular in India. But of course, Amish is known as Amish and a dear friend of several people. Jeffrey Archer, ladies and gentlemen, and Amish Tripathi. Thank you, gentlemen, for talking to us. For the first time, a very unique award at the India Global Forum is being launched. It's called the Archer Amish Writers Award. Tell us a little bit about this, about the brainchild and what's the idea?
Well, first, young lady, because we know you're well educated and we know you're top of your profession, you can't be very unique. You can only be unique. Got it?
Yes.
We are unique. Try your question again.
The question again is, there is an Archer Amish Writers Award. There is a bully in Mr. Archer, but we'll not talk about that. We'll talk about the writer, Mr. Archer.
Let me tell you the
Tell
short
us
stuff. Okay?
yes.
First of all, what an honor to have my name associated with someone I've been a fan of from my school days. Second, we know, many lit fests, not just in the UK, even in India have shut down. There's been a shortage of funding. This is a $25,000 award. It's among the biggest in the world now, right? And look, many people make announcements, very few carry through. Fortunately, IGF India Global Forum, who we partnered with, Jeffrey Archer and I, are actually carrying through. The first award will be announced today. A $25,000 check will be given. This is actually one of the most valuable literary awards in the world, and
he's behind it.
No, Jeffrey Archer is the man. I am a fan. And the thing with Jeffrey...
You are not sure about it.
I don't have that money.
The thing with Jeffrey and I agree on completely. We need to recognize storytellers, not just those with great writing. And a good storyteller is someone who can force the reader to turn the page, just like Jeffrey can.
Rare.
Right?
Not unique, but
which
rare.
is rare. That's what we want to recognize with this award. Jeffrey,
Stop
if you want to have
it.
something, stop dragging up.
Stop! Tell us about, are you excited? Have you read the works of any of the nominees?
Yes, I've read all three.
Yes.
And it was tough.
It was tough.
It was tough. We didn't agree. We
debated.
agreed on first and second. Oh no, we agreed on third. We couldn't agree on first and second.
And we debated for
some time.
Yeah. And then finally we came to
a mid-path.